Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I made the Ariel dress. I made this dress last summer for an underwater photo shoot and I wanted to share with you guys exactly how I made it. Some parts are missing, but for the most part, I tried to give you all the details of exactly what went down to make this dress. Today, I wanted to share with you how I made it using both thrifted fabric and budget-friendly fabric found online. It contains a very fitted corset style bodice with light boning, as well as a long chiffon skirt with a train, gathered at the waist, and a full-length open slit in the front. Underneath, I did spandex shorts to match the rest of the dress. This way, it was comfortable and flexible to be worn underwater. The straps were adjustable because they were tie straps, as well as the back of the bodice having lacing for closure. This allows flexibility for whoever wears it. I imagine the red flowing in the water, but also I've always wanted to do something similar with shorts underneath a sheer skirt. The first thing I did was draft the pattern on my dress form. To do so, I applied press and seal wrap to act as a base of the masking tape. I usually use light colored masking tape, but the blue was all I had on hand. After applying it on half of the bodice, I then marked my seam lines as well as grain lines and labeled each piece. Meanwhile, I found spandex fabric at walmart.com for a really great price and ordered that for the shorts so that it would arrive on time. Going back to the pattern, I cut out the pieces that I marked and separated them. Off screen, I transferred them to the computer using Adobe Illustrator and I added seam allowance. I'm happy to do a separate video at some point in the future if anyone's interested. I then moved on to the shorts by outlining and copying over some spandex shorts I had on hand. I added length to make it high-waisted as well. I laid out the spandex fabric that arrived in the mail right on time and placed my pattern on top. I made sure to include some seam allowance whilst cutting the pattern. If I were to make it again, I would have definitely added more length to the top for a better fit on the waist. It seemed a little bit short, especially when I tried it on myself. I then sewed the spandex along the sides and the inner leg seam. I went ahead and used a regular straight stitch since the stretch wouldn't necessarily be occurring in the up and down direction. I then moved on to the bodice lining after I cut out all of my pattern pieces and sewed all the seams together. I usually try to do lining first to test a fit before I commit to the outer fabric, which would have interfacing. I don't really want to waste my time if the fit wasn't perfect, so it's easier to redo a lining than it is to redo something with interfacing. Since this is a self-drafted pattern, I'm not currently able to make it user-friendly or grade to other sizes, but I truly hope to do so in the future. After I finished the lining, I then moved on to the bodice's main fabric pieces and ironed them flat before applying light to medium weight interfacing. I like to use interfacing for more structure when I'm doing a fitted bodice. I attach the interfacing using my iron and the steamer option. When I'm unsure of the fabric type, as this one was thrifted, I usually use a protective layer or pressing cloth in between, just in case. For the lining, I also ironed open all the seams while I was at the ironing board. Although I normally apply the Ridgerton boning before attaching the lining to the outer bodice, I tried it the other way around so that I knew where the neckline was before sewing on the boning to the seams. For some reason, I always guess wrong when I sew it on, and the boning is usually too long. I'm not sure which way I prefer, but it was a little bit more difficult to do it this way. Nonetheless, I sewed on the sewable boning to the seams. Well, I tried to before realizing I ran out of bobbin thread, and what's new? I then top stitched the boning down onto the outer bodice pieces. Moving on to the skirt, I had 4 yards of this red chiffon, and I wanted to make the most of it, so I measured for a gathered waist, about 2 times my waist measurement with the negative pattern piece that I drew up. I then eyeballed the bottom of the skirt to create a train as long as the fabric allowed. I then French seamed the skirt panels together, and since I wanted an open slit in the front, I only attached the center back of the skirt. French seams are a great solution for sheer fabrics, and it gives it such a clean look. For the slit in the front of the skirt, I used a rolled hem foot to finish off the edge. I then needed to create the straps, in which I did so using scrap pieces of the chiffon, and I made 1.5 loops with one of the ends closed off. I made 4 of these so that I could have 2 straps in the front and 2 straps in the back. I cut the corners so that it turned over nicely, and then turned them inside out and ironed them flat. Going back to the bodice, I started on the center back pieces to finish them off with red bias tape before I moved on to the grommets. Because I wanted the edge to be stronger and more structured for the lace-up, I attached boning before completely sealing it shut so that the bias tape covered it up. I then marked where all of the grommet pieces would go and had them evenly spaced apart. I cut the holes in preparation to attach the grommets. I'm not too happy with the grommet machine that I have, as it doesn't cut very easily on thicker fabrics, and I should have added a layer of fabric inside to make it stronger, because later on after the photo shoot, one of the grommets actually fell out. Nonetheless, I was pleased with the look of the grommets whilst making it. Grommets give it a more corset look to it, which I love. To help with the waist measurement, I measured the bias tape, but you don't have to do this step. I just knew that the bodice doesn't go completely around the waist since it had an open back. This allowed me to know exactly how long the skirt waist would be when I gathered the chiffon fabric. Moving on back to the skirt, I wanted to finish off the hem so that it didn't fray while I worked on the waist gathering. Using the rolled hem foot is often my go-to for skirts when it comes to hemming them, and I love the finished look. Although I didn't show how I gathered the skirt and attached it to the bodice, I just used basting stitches and then gathered it like that. When the dress was finally complete, it was time to steam it. This is probably one of my favorite parts because it's so satisfying taking all the wrinkles out and knowing that the dress is finally finished. I really hope you guys like this dress as much as I do. I think red satin was perfect for the ribbon on the back so you can lace it up. And although I didn't show how I finished off the waist seam in the back, I actually just did elastic with a little button and a loop to connect it. I love the flowiness with the wind and how bright red it is. This dress tied together a lot of my favorite features as I was really pleased with it. I loved the spandex shorts underneath, and I couldn't wait to see how it looked underwater. I hope you enjoy the final reveal along with the underwater footage captured by Taylor, a local photographer friend of mine. Angie, our model, did such a fantastic job modeling underwater as well, and I'll give all of their links down below. I hope to do another underwater dress this summer as well, and hopefully with way more flowy fabric. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you love dressmaking or sewing content, be sure to subscribe. I have more videos to come, as well as some videos already on my channel. And now, the underwater footage you've been waiting for.